In the new space race, it's easy to get focused on the giants, on the big spectacles. But while all of us were watching, one company was quietly, methodically building an absolute empire. So today, let's dive into the incredible story of how Rocket Lab became the essential, must-have alternative for getting to the final frontier.
For years, the entire Western space economy and its national security had a huge vulnerability. We were relying on a single dominant player for launch. That's a single point of failure. If that one option got grounded for any reason, well, so did our ambitions. This is the story of the second source, the company that fixed that problem by providing a crucial, reliable, and totally independent second way to get to orbit.
So how on earth did they pull it off? Let's take a look at the company's absolutely incredible transformation from what was once a scrappy little startup in New Zealand into a true titan of the global aerospace industry.
Just look at this number, $39.8 billion. By early 2026, Rocket Lab's market cap had exploded to nearly $40 billion. That's a staggering 270% jump in just 1 year. And listen, this isn't just hype. It's a signal that there's been a fundamental shift in how the market sees this company.
So what's the reason for that massive valuation? Well, investors aren't just treating Rocket Lab like another small launch company anymore. No way. They see it for what it's truly become, a foundational piece of infrastructure for the entire space economy.
To really understand how they got to this point, we have to go back to the beginning, because it all started with a brilliant and honestly a contrarian bet that went completely against the grain of the entire industry at the time.
See, while everyone else was completely obsessed with building bigger and bigger rockets for heavy lift, the founder, Peter Beck, he saw a huge bottleneck in the small satellite market, so he focused there. And by 2019, they didn't just have a reliable rocket, they had their own private launch site, which gave them total control over their schedule and, really, their own destiny.
Their innovative spirit? It's perfectly captured in the heart of their first rocket, the Rutherford engine. Instead of using complex, notoriously failure-prone turbopumps, they had a revolutionary idea: use batteries and electric motors. It made their engines radically simpler and way, way faster to 3D print. It was a game changer.
And here it is, the Electron rocket. The best way to think about it is like the dedicated courier van for the small satellite industry. It offered frequent, reliable rides to orbit for customers who before were forced to kind of inconveniently piggyback on these massive rockets. This is the vehicle that built their reputation.
But Beck and his team, they were smart. They realized that just being a courier service was a race to the bottom on price. So what was their solution? Own the entire process. I mean everything, from a single component all the way to a satellite in orbit. This next phase, this was about building an empire.
They went on an absolute acquisition spree. They bought Sinclair for the muscles of a satellite, the parts that let it point and move. Then they bought Solero for the power. We're talking some of the best solar panels in the world. And finally, they bought ASI for the brains, the critical flight software. Just like that, they could build an entire satellite platform completely from scratch.
And, owning all of that incredible technology opened up a massive new door. They could now pivot from being a purely commercial company into a prime contractor for national security, a much more lucrative and, frankly, stable market. I mean, just look at this strategic move. It's brilliant. They took their commercial Electron rocket, made a few modifications, and rebranded it as HAST for the Department of Defense. It went from being a $7.5 million commercial ride to orbit to a high-margin, critical asset for hypersonic testing. Same core tech, whole new ballgame. And that pivot? Well, it led directly to this moment, an $816 million contract from the U.S. Space Development Agency. This wasn't just another contract. This was the moment Rocket Lab truly arrived on the main stage. And get this, they weren't just launching the satellites. Oh no, they are designing and building all 18 of them for a critical missile tracking constellation. And the best part? They won this contract by beating out some of the oldest, most established giants in the entire aerospace industry. But Rocket Lab is not stopping there. Not even close. Their next great leap is a rocket called Neutron. And if Electron was the career van, well, Neutron is the semi-truck, designed to haul the industry's really heavy cargo. And here it is, powered by their new Archimedes engines. This is Rocket Lab's direct answer to SpaceX's Falcon 9. A successful flight here will position them to compete for those massive constellation deployment contracts that are literally shaping the future of space. And of course, it features yet another brilliant innovation,
the hungry hippo fairing. Seriously, that's what they call it. Instead of dropping off and being recovered from the ocean, the fairing opens its jaws, releases the satellite, and then closes right back up before the entire first stage lands. It's just an incredibly elegant solution to a very expensive problem.
And as if building a whole space empire wasn't enough, they're also pushing the boundaries of science itself. Later this year, Rocket Lab is scheduled to launch the first ever fully private mission to another planet, a probe to search for signs of life in the clouds of Venus. I mean, the sheer ambition is just incredible.
So this all brings us back to that core idea, the second source thesis. By owning the entire stack, from the launch pad to the rocket to the spacecraft and even its components, Rocket Lab has become the only company besides SpaceX that can do it all. This de-risks the entire supply chain for the Western world. It provides a vital, independent alternative. It makes them not just an option, but an absolute cornerstone of the space economy.
So that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. For decades, Western access to space was fragile, right? It was often dependent on just a single provider. But now, with two competing, vertically integrated giants in the game, has the industry finally matured? Is the final frontier now truly and for the first time open for business?